Revolutionary greetings, comrades. There's an ongoing discussion in Zimbabwe on what should happen. If you speak to members of the opposition, they will tell you that what Zimbabwe needs is to remove ZANU-PF from power, and then the rest will be dealt with later on. So people will say, let us remove ZANU-PF from power and deal with the rest later on, because to them the problem is ZANU-PF. If you speak to supporters of ZANU-PF, they will argue, particularly after the 2017 military coup, that we need to give ZANU-PF and President Emerson Mnangagwa a chance. We are now under a second republic. And some saw what businessman and journalist Trevor Ncube said when he announced that he is no longer part of the advisory council established by President Mnangagwa in 2018. The Zimbabwe Communist Party discussed this question at its first congress in 2019 in Bulawayo on what is to be done. And we identified the key 6 areas that we need to focus on if we are to build Zimbabwe as a nation that is progressive, so to speak. We will not in this video deal in detail with all the 6 items, because it will be longer if we were to do so. But we'll rather deal with item by item. But in this video, we will just highlight what we think or what we know must be done. So in what is to be done, these are the following. And we know that comrades did read What is to be Done by Vladimir Lenin. If comrades never read his essay, please do so. It's important because Lenin was faced by these challenges in Russia. And he asked the question, what is to be done? And we are going through challenges in our own country, in Zimbabwe and in the region. And the question is, what is to be done? And what is mostly important again is that there's an anti-imperialist struggle ongoing in Eastern Europe right now. And as communists in this part of the world, we should not fold our arms and be spectators. We should contribute in our own way in the struggle against the imperialism which is taking place in Eastern Europe. So the war in Ukraine must be understood as a struggle against imperialism. It should never be understood, as some liberals want us to believe, that Russia has invaded a sovereign state, therefore Russia must be opposed. No. And the others are calling us to be neutral because we are trading with Western Europe, North America on one hand, and we are trading with China, Eastern Europe on the other hand. Therefore, they want us to be neutral so as not to upset one camp. And we are saying we cannot be neutral in the struggle against imperialism. We cannot be. We can't afford to be neutral in the struggle against imperialism. In any fact, the problems that we are confronted with in Zimbabwe and the global are as a result of imperialism. And therefore, it is our revolutionary duty that we participate or contribute in our own way in the struggle against imperialism. So what is to be done in Zimbabwe? Firstly, that's point number one, building a Leninist vanguard. This is key. We will elaborate on this point when we discuss the what a Leninist vanguard is. So what is to be done is to first and foremost build a Leninist vanguard. This is why the Zimbabwe Communist Party was established and was still building, while in the early stages of its formation, was still building a Leninist vanguard. So the first point is the building of a Leninist vanguard. The second point, as I've said, that will simply highlight the 6 areas that needs attention, so that we then later on deal with them separately, so that comrades will understand what we mean. The second point is creating a class-conscious citizens. When we were analyzing the statement by the president of the CCC, Nelson Chamisa, some comrades welcomed the criticism, because as communists we do not insult. We always provide constructive criticism. But some comrades, which of course they cannot point out, think that we were denigrating. But when asked to say, point out where we were denigrating in our critique, and I did say that there's a difference between a critique and criticism. And I thought comrades who understood, but it was clear they didn't understand. They cannot point out. Because the CCC speaks about putting the people, or citizens as they call, in the center of the struggle. And we are saying, which we said in 2019, before the formation of CCC, that what needs to be done as point number 2 is creating a class-conscious citizens. It is not only about citizens participating or putting citizens in the center of the struggle. It is key that you create a class-conscious citizens. Point number 3, which is also key in what is to be done, building unity in the trade union movement, informal sector organizations, and rural-based organizations. We will elaborate on this point when we were discussing in the ZCP in the build-up to the 2019 Congress. We spent time critiquing or studying the essay by Joseph, which he wrote in 1988. It assisted us as we were preparing, because it's important to note that not every trade union is progressive. It is very, very important to note. Some trade unions, they get funding from imperialist organizations. So it's important, and we need, as we'll be elaborating on this point, define a progressive trade union, because there are different types of trade unions. So when we're preparing our document, we did a lot of research. As I'm saying that Joe Slovos is assisted us and other Marxist literature as we're discussing this point in relation to the trade union movement in Zimbabwe. And what we then said that is it's important that we build a unit in the trade union movement because the trade union movement is divided in Zimbabwe. And if it remains divided, we will not achieve our goal of transforming our society. The fourth point that is important in what is to be done, winning over state organs to the goal of completing the liberation of Zimbabwe. This is not going to be an easy task, but we must commit to it. And when we were discussing this in preparation for the Congress, and we were discussing the state, defining the state, the class nature of the Zimbabwean state, its apparatus, key apparatus. In the previous video, we said Zimbabwe is a strong state, it is not a failed state. Comrades were saying, no, Comrade Mapena, you are wrong, Zimbabwe is a failed state. And the question that we're posing is, has the Zimbabwean state failed the class that it represents? If indeed it has failed the class that it represents, yes, it is a failed state. But our study of the Zimbabwean state is that it has never failed the class that it represents. And we have said Zimbabwe is a deep militaristic state. That is to say, it is the military that is in charge in Zimbabwe. And the military is also a key state organ. And the question that we're posing in the previous video when we said Zimbabwe is a failed state is that can you dismantle a deep state through an election? Yes, you can have multitudes of people in a rally, come into a rally, but the election will reflect something else. You might win at the polling station, but he who announces, or she who announces in our case, will announce a different result. And we said at Congress that winning over state organs to the goal of completing the liberation of Zimbabwe is something that must be done. We will elaborate on this point again. The other point number 5 in what is to be done, which we always discuss, is the building of a democratic economy. This one, comrades, we believe they do understand, because we have explained and we continue explaining this, and we are saying our liberation cannot be complete if the majority of the people are not participating in the mainstream economy. And for the people to participate in the mainstream economy is that the economy must be democratic. And in the previous video, we spoke about the national plan, where we said we must establish a national planning commission. So the 5th point is building a democratic economy. The last point in what is to be done is what we call Poltergeist Internationalism. We're engaged in a class struggle, and the class struggle is not local, it is international. This is why we're saying there's an ongoing struggle against imperialism in Eastern Europe. As communists, we must participate in the struggle against imperialism. So we must, point number 6, Poltergeist Internationalism, and I will define what we mean by Poltergeist Internationalism. There's a tendency, though, that in Zimbabwe we want everyone to give us solidarity. And a tendency, again, by men in Zimbabwe. We have been victims of imperialist media who agree with the West or with imperialists that countries like Cuba, countries like Venezuela are under dictatorship. That's the construct of the imperialist media. And as men in our country buy into that. This is why even the main opposition parties will not seek relations with Cuba, Venezuela, and other progressive countries across the globe. They want to rush to London, Washington, Brussels, because they think that once you are friends with the West, you are progressive. And they were saying, point number 6, Poltergeist Internationalism. So, in summary, comrades, this is what is to be done in answering the question that Comrade Lenin addressed as well when he wrote his essay in 1905, if I'm not mistaken, what is to be done, and we encourage comrades to read that. So as I summarize, 1, building a Leninist vanguard, 2, creating a class-conscious citizens, 3, building unit in the trade union movement, informal sector organizations, and rural-based organizations, 4, winning over state organs to the goal of completing the liberation of Zimbabwe, 5, building a democratic economy, and 6, Poltergeist Internationalism. Please share with us your views, and please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We thank all of you, comrades, that continue to subscribe, and we also take note of the criticism that we get. Some, of course, has been xenophobic. We do not want comrades to be responding on this YouTube channel to xenophobic comments. We are communists. We should respect others. We respect those that differ with us ideologically. Ours is to engage, but we should not come across as anti xenophobic. Otherwise, comrades, amandla.